So, is anybody interested in a 360-degree panoramic 4K action camera that shoots at 30 frames a second for under $200? Maybe? Let's find out. Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wireless Discovery. I'm Josh, and this is the SEREE 360-degree 4K action camera, and it is $200 on Amazon right now. That may seem a little pricey, but if you start searching around Amazon, you're going to find all price points from around $55, $60 all the way up to $600 for a 4K 360-degree action camera. And that price point is a little misleading because 4K action cams still suffer from a bit of a naming crisis, and that is that several of the cheaper brands on the market will advertise 4K, but when you actually look at the specs, they don't have a CCD capable of capturing 4K. What they're doing is they're capturing a 1080p signal and upscaling it to 4K for output. And that's not what you want. You don't want to buy a 4K camera to find out you're actually not recording in 4K. So taking all those out of the equation, just looking at the actual 4K cameras on the market, $200 is pretty decent price for a 360-degree action camera that shoots 4K. So that out of the way, let's take a look at this baby and see if she's worth her plastic. Okay, so here we have the SEREE camera itself. On the front, it just says panoramic, which is interesting. And below the screen, we have a up and down arrow, and the up arrow looks peculiarly like a Wi-Fi signal because it also doubles as the Wi-Fi button. On the left side, we have the record button and power button below that. And on the right, we have a little rubber door. Pry that open. And we expose our micro USB, micro HDMI, and SD card slots. And behind that is a little plastic door that covers our removable battery. Okay, close this back up. On the bottom, we've got 4 little rubber feet. And on the side here, you'll see there's a speaker grill for the internal speaker. I'm not quite sure why. And in the middle, we have a 1/4-inch tripod thread screw for mounting on a tripod. On the top, we have the star attraction, the 220 field of view lens. And on the left side, we have a little LED. And on the right, we have a tiny little microphone hole. Yeah, that's going to record some great quality audio. And on the back, we have absolutely nothing. Sounds good, right? Okay, so that's the camera body itself. As I said, it's an all-plastic frame, and you might be a little concerned about that, but it can take a beating. I mean, you can squeeze this thing like a stress ball, and it doesn't do anything. It's actually pretty sturdy. It can take a lot of beating. Yeah, now I will say this. It does, can you hear that? It's got something in here is jingling. And there's not supposed to be any moving parts, so I don't know what that is, but it's disconcerting. So this puppy actually comes with a variety of accessories. Okay, so first off, we have a helmet mount. At the base, it's curved just a little bit to fit flush on the helmet, but it'll still sit flat on the ground if you need it to. It has a GoPro style hinge here and can be unscrewed. And at the base, you'll see the pin, which will screw into the tripod mount on the base of the camera. Next up, we have a bicycle mount. This just clamps onto a bicycle part, whatever you can fit it on, and at the top has another GoPro mount. And then we have a bunch of miscellaneous GoPro style screw bits. I don't really know what these are for, but you can mount stuff to stuff with them. And there's a included USB to micro USB cable and a power charger, USB power charger. A little light on it to tell you that it's charging. Last up, we have the waterproof enclosure. As you can see, it's clear plastic on all sides, has a little clamp seal on the base, and I broke it, but anyway, it just pops open, you slide the camera in, and you've got these metal buttons that give you access to all of the buttons on the camera, so you can do full function while underwater. Okay, so that's the accessory stuff in the box, and most of it's GoPro style mounting, and I don't really care for that too much, but it is nice that the camera itself has a 1/4 inch threading on the base, so you can screw it directly into a regular tripod and use regular camera accessories with it. But the one accessory out of the box that I did really like is this helmet mount, because even though it's angled at the bottom for use on a helmet, it does sit flat, so you can use it as a mini tripod, and it's just about the perfect height to get the camera above grass level if you're shooting outdoors. So this is almost perfect for setting it down on the ground and filming around you. Uh, Maybe that's not great for action footage, but if you set it down in the middle of a skate park or something, it's pretty good. So there you go. You have that. This, in my opinion, best accessory in the box. I suppose the waterproof enclosure could come in best if you were a water person, but I cannot swim, so I don't really see myself taking this thing out of the ocean or a lake anytime soon. But there you have it, my pick for best accessory of the box. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes, the good stuff. Wi-Fi. So this is a Wi-Fi enabled camera. It purports to be able to transfer files wirelessly, as well as use a Android or iOS app to remote control and remote access your photos and videos. Let's look at the iOS app first, because I don't have an Android phone right now. Okay, so this is the companion app for iOS. As you can see, I've already synced the camera to the phone, and we're getting a live preview of what the camera is seeing. Below that are a couple different view modes. You can swap between them just to see what they look like, but really this one is the only one that matters, because this is what your panoramas are going to look like. Okay, so as you could see, I was able to control the camera. I was able to zoom around and look at different views, and I could also start and stop recording, which is great. So you can set the camera down somewhere, walk away from it, line up your shot, oh, speaking of lining up your shot, it's a little confusing compared to most cameras. Most of the time, if you have a display on your camera, that's probably the back of the camera, and you want to be on the other side to be in front of it. Well, that's not the case with this camera. Out of the box with the default settings, the side with the screen is the front. So if you want to be at the front of your panorama footage, if you want to be directly in front of the camera when it starts recording, you want to be facing the LCD screen. So just a little pro tip out of many trial and error sessions. You want to be on this side. So there you go. But once you've recorded your footage, then you're going to want to transfer your files either onto your computer or onto your phone. Some way you want to upload them. Well, this is where things go terribly wrong. Though the phone app worked flawlessly for viewing footage and for live remote control. When it came time to transfer the videos that I'd recorded onto my phone directly, there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so when I just sorry, I'm really trying to not throw a fit right now. When it's time to transfer your files from your camera to your phone, you go in, you switch to the transfer tab, and you press download, and it starts going. And in my experience, you get about 66% of the way through the transfer, and then the app crashes. And then you try again, and the app crashes. And you try again, and the app crashes. And you try again, and the app crashes. And it's a slow and painful process because every time the app crashes, you have to go back into your system settings and reset your Wi-Fi point back to the access point of the camera. And that takes a couple seconds. So the whole process is just this back and forth between the app and the crash and the system settings and the configuration for your network, and then back to the app and then the crash. And I just wanted to throw this thing at the wall. But I did manage to get one video that was under 1 minute to transfer successfully. So I thought, okay, I've got that. Let's just see what we can do with it. So I went into my camera roll and looked, and the video's not there. It's just not there. So, okay, thinking back on it, the app did not ask for permission to access my camera roll, so I've probably got to go in and export the video to the camera roll. So I go in and I go to the video and I preview it and I play it back, and there is an export button, but it's grayed out, and no amount of pressing or tapping or just pummeling that little button will do anything. There is no way to get it to export the video from the internal storage of the app to your camera roll, where you might be able to get it over to your computer. So that's a bust. So I thought, okay, let's check the App Store and see if there is a app for this camera on the Apple App Store. And there is. And I downloaded it, and I tried to connect my Mac to that wireless access point that the phone had connected to. And the phone, when it connects, it doesn't ask for the password. But when the camera tries to connect to the computer, or vice versa, then it requires a password. And no matter what I did, I could not get my computer to accept the password for the camera. It wouldn't take it. So I could not connect to the computer, which means zero chance of wireless file transfer. Just putting that out there. The wireless transfer feature does not work at all. You're going to have to take this thing and either take your micro SD card out and put it into a reader and plug it into the computer, or you're going to have to run a micro USB cable from your computer to the camera. Thankfully, if you do that, if you run a wire, you can transfer the files off of the camera as if it were a remote drive. Just like most other cameras, it will work. But for wireless discovery's purposes, that is a piece of total garbage. I cannot stress to you enough how angry I was trying to get this to work, but I digress. So once you get your footage off of this camera, it's going to come out in a 1:1 aspect ratio format. So it's going to be a spherical looking image, or a square image with a circle in the center and black on all four corners. And that's just a artifact of the way you have a single lens taking a large picture of 360 degrees all the way around it, and capturing that in one frame. But that format is not what you need to upload to YouTube or Facebook for panoramas. The user manual, very helpful user manual, that's all it says on the box, stops at how to use the iOS app. And so you're on your own from here on out. So if you ever used a 360 panorama camera, you may already know this, but if you haven't, newsflash, that is not what Facebook and YouTube expect for panoramas. They expect the square format that you get off the camera to be converted somehow into an equirectangular 2x1. And the only way I could find to do that, SEREE does not provide any software. They don't provide any help in this manual about getting your footage into that format. So after a lot of Googling, I eventually settled on checking out a competitor's software package that's actually called 360 Fly Director. It's available at 360fly.com. And if you go to their website and scroll down to their download section, you can download it for Mac or iOS, but it does work with the same format since they record in the same 1:1 aspect ratio footage. And then I'm going to have a little tutorial for how you get your footage from the square format to the equirectangular format. In fact, let's just do that. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, so once you have 360 Director open, all you have to do is take your clip here. We're going to preview this. See, it's in the 1:1 aspect ratio. And now we're just going to drag that straight into 360 Director and click the import button. And after just a second, you'll see a little preview pop up. And we can hit play on that. And now, finally, we see our video in panoramic format, where we can actually look around. Excellent. So close that, and click down here on Export, and you can pick the export size. I'm just leaving it the full resolution, and give it a new name so it doesn't overwrite the old footage, and hit save. And for the sake of everyone's sanity, I have grossly sped up the time it takes for this process to complete. But once it's there, bing, you have a new file, and you can open it in Finder and preview it just like you did the previous video, and now you'll see it's in the 2:1 equirectangular format with the bottom third grayed out in black. Okay, so now you've managed to get your footage into the equirectangular format. The great thing about this is the 360 Fly Director already added some metadata to your video when it exported it that is what YouTube and Facebook need to know that the video that's being uploaded is actually a panorama. So that's all taken care of. So that is the round trip to get your footage from camera to YouTube. And it's not exactly straightforward, but once you get it down once or twice, it's not that bad. So the question is this little puppy worth $200? If it had come with an instruction manual that told me all of the troubles and strife that I was going to go through in the name of trying to get video up to YouTube, I would be much more favorable towards it. But because its very unhelpful manual stopped so early in the process and left me with so many unanswered questions, I really do not have much love for this camera. But that said, even though it let me down on wireless features, it does still have wireless remote control. And I hate to say it, but for its price point, you're not going to find many other 360-degree 4K action cameras that are able to produce a picture like this and are going to meet this price point. They're going to be a considerably more expensive product. But while you're on 365 Director's page, check out their camera. I forget what it's called, but just tap the Products tab and switch over. They have a almost identical camera, spec-wise. It has some extra features, and supposedly its Wi-Fi features actually work, but for all intents and purposes, it is the same device in a sphere, and it costs $550. So, do you want to pay $550 for a spherical version of this little puppy? I don't. You might. I don't. But that is the SEREE 360-degree 4K action camera. It says panoramic on the front. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I'll be here reviewing wireless products as often as I possibly can. Until next time, have a great day. I feel like I forgot something very important. Like I said I was going to come back to it, and then I didn't. Oh, one little tidbit I'd love to read you. This is out of the user manual. This is the description of problem and solution section. Number 1. If the phenomenon of death caused by the improper operation of this product, period, reinstall the removable battery and the product will be restored to normal.